All right, so my fear was lived true that he was able to wipe Ukraine with the UK, which means he can, stack Ukraine easily. I mean, doesn't have to stack it, right? I mean, all he has to do is kill these two guys. So he can just move all his Russians into here. I'll have 4, 8, 10 that can strike there, but he's got 5, 9, 10, and a couple of AAs that could go in there. So, he loses one. So, anyways, he can move everything in and stack West Russia with the Russians. And then I can't even counterattack this, which kind of stinks. So my German turn, I'll have to move my forces around and do whatever with all this air again. The artillery and all the air attack is going to be painful one way or the other. So not sure exactly what I'm going to do there. Glad Italy lived. That's the counter. The positive out of it is those units I built are still good, so we can use them to hit here into France. And then every, what is the good old scientific saying? For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So we've got 4 units sitting here to his 2. So hopefully we can blast through here and, get a little Africa play out of this, as well as that's going to give us a shot at India with our J3 India, even in the face of a KJF. So, and we're going to take that shot. One bomber being built, I think, made it like 55% chance. Even if he built 3 fighters here, brought these 2 fighters, this fighter, and these 2 bombers down, and the tank down, plus builds 3 fighters there, I had a 55% chance with 2 bombers. So we're going to, or with 1 bomber, so we're going to build 2 bombers with 2 subs. I mean, those are all good, decent units. Not the most efficient units for defending a KJF, but they're decent units for defending a KJF. So that's the route we're going to go. And so that's what we're buying. And we're going to work on stacking up a strong India attack and hopefully make the most of that. Because I'm not building ground units, so I'm not going to be coming back and grabbing more ground units. I got to make sure and we're sending everything into Burma here. We got to be careful with our units here and our units here. I'm going to leave these guys sitting here. If he wants to do the 5v3, that's slightly his favor, but I'll be able to come back hopefully and be able to counter that if he does. And it'll depend if he wants to stretch between India and up there. We'll see how well he plays that. And, of course, U.S. has a pretty strong fleet coming. So I want to leave transports in both these zones. Plus, I want to stack CZone 48 up against the Americans. Gets a little bit tough, but we're going to see what we can do with it here. I just realized he kind of gave me a little mini shot at them if I really wanted to, but I think it's slightly his favor, right? So he's got, 2 fighters, a sub, 2 destroyers, carrier, battleship. I could send a bomber and 3 fighters, 2 from here to land on the carrier, this fighter to go 1, 2 and land back here, or land on a carrier. Battleship, destroyer, carrier. So that gives me 8 hit points attacking at 20 versus 8 hit points defending at 19. So it's a 50-50 toss-up battle. So he's giving me 50-50, but again, anytime you're looking at, U.S. is the aggressor, Japan's the defender. The aggressor's happy to give 50-50 battles. Defender does not want to take 50-50 battles, so I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to bite yet on it. I am going to take that 1. Debating whether I should take Kazo with the artillery just to, again, try to deplete what his forces up here are. Actually, I think I will do it. It's not conserving my units like I just talked about, though. That's the downside. But if he uses 1 or possibly 2 units there, then maybe he gives me a shot on West Russia. I don't like it. I want to save my artillery, I think. So I think that might be my only attack there. Boo. Nope, that's not what I meant to do. So I got the 2 tanks that are going to be able to blitz through. Gives me 2 openings, so we're going to bring these 2 infantry back. Kind of like here better. So he's got these 2 fighters. He could go 1, 2, 3, 2 fighter versus my cruiser, and he'd have to move his carrier into my C zone to catch them, so to speak. So he would have to also send his sub, like he's going to attack there, and if the sub loses, then he can let the fighters crash and die. But that would be sending his sub and 2 fighters, 26 IPC to kill my cruiser and 2 transports. Transports aren't as important to me at this point in Japan with the KJF on, so I'm willing to take that risk, I think. He could do the same thing down here, 2 fighters versus a battleship, and he also has 1 fighter, 1 bomber for UK that could go after the battleship for the other 2 transports. If I was allies, I wouldn't take either of those battles, but who knows? But I really kind of need I need all 8 units here versus his 8 units, because he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this fighter is 8, because these fighters can go 1, 2, 3, 4 and land on this carrier, and this fighter can go 1, 2, 3, 4 and land on this carrier. So he's got 8 units versus my 8 units there. So it is kind of thin to begin with, and I can't really go any thinner than that. I'm not blocking him. I'm not throwing the destroyer block here. He could send the transport for the 2 infantry versus 1 infantry attempt. It's 50-50. I just don't got enough units to be able to spread myself out and not let him do that right now. So I'm gonna let him try that if he wants. If he moves his whole fleet in there, they'll be dead zoned, and I'll be able to wipe all these guys fairly easily. So he'd have to do it as just the transport by itself, because if he sends a fighter, the carrier's got to go, or he could send the battleship, which obviously he's not really going to want to sacrifice either his battleship or his carrier. So really his only option is to sacrifice the transport for a 50-50 shot. again, may not be a bad idea. But I think that's where I'm going to wrap things up. Just double checking. He's got 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 units I can hit my 14. But I've got more defensive units, so I'm going to allow it. I do want to go ahead and start planning that. I do want them no longer submerging. We're probably going to want them on defensive sub-fight. Same. My defense sub-fight is my base defensive profile if you're not followed me. So just get everybody on my base profiles. There we go, bringing those 2 back. So I got 4 infantry. These 2 transports can grab. These tanks can blitz through. One of these transports can grab these 2 guys, and that's everything we got attacking into India. So when I said I had that with buying 1 bomber, the 56% chance of defeating him, that was without any bombardments. I did not include my battleships or cruisers because I want to keep them up towards the front line with the U.S. and the Pacific if possible. All right, let's see what he does.